What's going on, mate? This is Riley Knight from the podcast Half-Assed History, here to have a bit of a chat with you about the heroes featured in Hidden Cup 5. All the heroes the players are using to hide their true identities are real-life people from history featured as units in various Age of Empires campaigns. And while T90 is an avid history lover, his knowledge and memory of history would pretty firmly make him a historical low elo legend, I think it's fair to say. So he invited me along to tell you a thing or two about these heroes we're watching square off against one another. Let's get to know one of them a little bit better. Alfred the Alpaca was he was an alpaca, that part is pretty obvious, but his story is a truly fascinating one, with twists and turns, ups and downs, and an ending that you absolutely will not see coming. Alfred was born somewhere at some point, I don't know, and his younger years were not easy on him, I can tell you. Out in the wilderness, much of Alfred's early life saw him struggle for survival, pitted against wild animals of all kinds, alligators, strange-sounding wolves, even an oddly aggressive duck every now and again. He had to scrounge for whatever food he could find, usually little more than wild-caught salmon, but these trials only strengthened Alfred in his resolve, and by the time he was a big, grown-up alpaca, he had immense vigour. He had iron-like hide that was nigh impervious to enemy blows. He had a mighty headbutt that could fell buildings. Alfred's martial prowess quickly gained him great respect and power, and soon he was well known as a powerful adversary, or indeed, if recruited to your side, as an ally that gave you an advantage in battle that felt so unfair it was almost like you were choosing to use every resource at your disposal. Before long, Alfred was a warrior of great renown, and from humble beginnings grew a realm of his own to enormous power and prosperity, although not as much prosperity as he could have had, as many people often noted, due to his exceptionally poor urban planning and land management skills. Rather than neatly and efficiently use his land to maximise things like agricultural output, Alfred's approach was embarrassingly haphazard. However, Alfred soon grew tired of the mockery he received for his farming inefficiencies, and one day he snapped. He raised a great army and marched out to meet his foes on the field of battle, making sure, of course, that they all washed their hands before they set off.
Did you wash before you touched me?
But then, tragedy struck poor Alfred when, in the lead up to this battle, he attempted to entertain his army so as to keep morale up. Alfred gathered his assembled followers, he stood up in front of them and started to regale them with amusing tales and stories from his youth, from that one time that he, we really don't have time, honestly. We'd be here all day. Anyway, this effort to keep his troops entertained, it backfired horrendously when Alfred told a joke to his assembled troops that just really wasn't that funny, honestly. So much so, in fact, that no fewer than 7,000 of his followers just got up and left, then and there, on the spot. Despite this devastating loss to his numbers, Alfred would maintain for years afterwards that the joke wasn't actually that bad, and the real reason that 7,000 people left him behind was because of something else entirely, offering some convoluted and dubious explanation as to why his numbers fell like they did immediately after this joke. But of course, no one was convinced. In any case, with a battle ahead, Alfred had no choice but to press on and hope for victory. And so he fortified his position near a thick forest with some hastily cobbled together wooden defensive measures to prevent the enemy's approach. However, when Alfred learnt that his enemy was not only uncertain of their position, but also inexpert in the ways of war, Alfred was greatly relieved, as you can imagine. He began to feel his confidence return when thinking about the oncoming conflict. In fact, Alfred's foe even sent missives broadcasting clear weakness, seemingly hoping to treat with him, making it clear to Alfred that this battle would be a lot easier than he first expected. Alfred gathered his forces, chanting great inspirational battle cries with them like,
"Enemy!
and
I am going to attack you!"
And victory felt assured. That is, until 16 battle elephants charged his pitiful defences and laid waste to his forces, leaving him abandoned and alone in a forest with nothing.
Good God, I'm dead!
With the howls of approaching wolves surrounding him. Again, really weird howls too. That's not normally how wolves would sound, to be honest. Alfred realised his only option was to flee. With his forces scattered, with nowhere left to turn, Alfred turned tail and ran. And ran and ran until he reached the sea, securing a berth on the first ship he saw, not caring where he ended up, knowing the rest of his life would be one of seclusion, isolation, and quiet reflection. The ship sailed eastward, eventually sighting land off in the distance, and Alfred knew almost instinctively that this was his destination, a place he could finally rest. This sparse, uninhabited island, uncountable leagues from anywhere that mattered, an obscure, forgotten place, unheeded by any who sailed by, of no strategic or economic value to anyone. And so he landed there and built 3 archery ranges. The end.
That wasn't my story, it was Tristan's.